Patrick Yabuama is a member of parliament for Okankwe Central. He's here. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you very much.
He's also a legal practitioner, and his chambers around the... Okay, we're not supposed to advertise. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Okay, did you hear about the fire outbreak at Vienna City here in Accra? Were you monitoring?
I did. Thank you very much. Good morning to your cherished viewers.
Morning.
I did monitor last night. And I must say, we thank God for all his mercies. Today is the beginning of another month. And that we didn't hear any bad news, just that the owners of the place have lost a lot of valuables, running into millions of Ghana cedis. It also happened just opposite the Gold Station, where we had that disaster last year, June. And we thank God that I'm told there was a tanker discharging fuel at the time.
Yesterday?
And they've promised to move it this morning, and nothing happened. We thank God for what happened last night. We could have heard some other bad news, but God is with us. I want to plead with the owners and the managers of the Gold Station to always be in touch with the fire service and other state agencies like NADMO and other institutions to be on the alert, and also with managers of fuel and gas stations around. Now most of them are springing up in neighborhoods, and you ask them and they tell you they've been given the permit by EPA and the state agencies. Who are you to challenge them if they produce the certification to allow them engage in those practices or businesses within neighborhoods? So that is my take on what happened last night.
Now, particularly for the caution that need to be taken, especially when you're going to have the sighting of such fuel stations in neighborhoods, how critical is it that perhaps we need to do proper engagement of, if it's the fire service and the other relevant stakeholder agencies, to make sure that safety is prime in some of those areas?
You see, in this country, members of parliament perform their duties to enact laws for the governance of this country. You have the Local Government Act 462 and a lot of regulations and bylaws that empowers the AMA, the municipal assemblies, the sub-metros, the unit committees, and the urban councils, and all those decentralized agencies to perform certain acts or duties. But it ends up that people don't perform their functions or their roles, because the EPA is supposed to ensure that the environment sighting up of certain industries per their Act 490 and their LI are supposed to regulate some of these things. The AMA comes, I shouldn't single out the AMA. The MMDAs, they also have a role to play. So that synergy has to be there to ensure that these industries, or if it's a gas station, it's a building, any project that springs up within a community must go through a certain registration process or procedure, for which people must be taxed to do what they are required to do under the enabling law.
Well, many of the times, once they have the permit, it means they can go ahead.
Once you are permitted,
but
yes.
But practically, sometimes nobody should tell you where it is dangerous, and the actions or activities could lead to some disastrous consequences.
So the permit means that
they've been cleared.
Everything regarding what you are going to do has been certified or has gone through a certain process, for which, if it's a fire tender, if it's the building plan or the works that you are going to undertake, should have gone through a certain process. So once you are given a permit, it means that you've satisfied all the conditions precedent. And also, the institution, if it's EPA or the MMDAs, must also regulate or come and check whether you are performing or building or going through the projects for which you are permitted to undertake. If you are going through or adhering to the standards, or you are working within the permits given, it's also a requirement that they check you and make sure that you are working in accordance with the standards or the permit that you were given.
Okay, we have to look at the subject of health, and apparently there's been a breakdown of a certain department called the Central Sterilization Services Department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, and from what a colleague of mine, Kweti Nate, has been finding out, apparently that very breakdown of the facility is resulting in the non-sterilization of some surgical equipment, and now they have to use some Parazone-like kind of liquids to sterilize the equipment before use. And some of the medical doctors indeed told the team that it's not safe, it's not 100% safe, that after you undertake those surgeries, you won't get any infections at all. We spoke to the public relations director of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, and would want to hear him. And then we'll come back and do the discussions. As we come back, also we'll be joined by Bright Demoji, and he is a member of parliament for Botiano English Manfro.
Yes, the autoclave machine for the past 2 weeks has been down, and it's something we started working on since last year to replace all the autoclave machines that we have at the CSSD unit. And work is going on. Contract has been awarded for the replacement of the faulty parts, and then we hope that before the end of next month we'll have the place fixed for them to resume normal operations. But let me tell you, the breakdown of the autoclave machines at the CSSD does not mean that we don't have any other source of autoclaving materials for theaters. We have other autoclave machines spread across the hospital that we use at various theaters, the pediatric surgery theater, surgery unit theater. Also have the first floor theater where we have another autoclave, despite the fact that the capacity there is not as huge as the main CSS unit, but they are helping. But sometimes when there's a need, we also fall on other sister hospital within the metropolis to help us to autoclave materials for the CSSD unit. Let me point out clearly that the breakdown of the autoclave at CSSD unit has not affected surgery. It has not caused us to scale down our operations in the theaters. So we are making sure that we do the necessary backup so that work is not affected. Oh, yeah.
Well, on one hand, the medical doctors are complaining that the breakdown of the machines in the department has resulted in the current situation. But the management says it's not too bad, a situation not to manage. And Bright Demoji, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, what do you make practically of this?
Thank you very much. I will take the view of the professional, that's the medical doctor, because he has been trained to use these equipment. And when they are saying that they are not getting the right disinfectants to sterilize the equipment there, then life is in danger. Equipment will be infested with bacteria and what have you, and when they use those materials to perform surgery, you may lose your loved one. And I think the management of Korle Bu in this situation ought to be punished.
You have to be held liable, you say?
Yes, because they collect all the revenues there. They are supposed to maintain equipment. They are supposed to ensure that equipment or resources that doctors need to perform their duties there are all up to scratch or up to the standards. So if an equipment is worth $20,000 and a whole institution like Korle Bu, with the support of Ministry of Health, cannot procure an autoclave. And machines have to be ferried or transported from Korle Bu to 37 to Police Hospital. Do you know what a person's life is worth? How much it's worth? You cannot put monetary value on human life. That is why these doctors have been trained to help us in such situations. So if you go and buy Parasafe for a doctor to go and disinfect a syringe or any knife or medical equipment necessary for the performance of surgery because somebody is sitting there and not doing his work, heads must roll.
But Mr. Deboji, it means that sometimes the oversight ministries don't take the necessary actions. And it's not as if the ministry is failing, but it's the management of the various entities that are not doing what is expected of them. These machines in the department had broken down 2 weeks before the report was compiled.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning to our cherished viewers. Honestly, this is a management deficiency. I'm saying that because, you know, not Korle Bu as a whole, but I think there are various departments in Korle Bu, and these departments have some level of autonomy. So I'm looking at it from the value perspective, $20,000. How much is $20,000? And apart from that, it is not only management in terms of getting the resources to maintain the equipment, but one problem that I know in this country is that there is a problem of human resource capacity in management of our equipment in this country. Because if you have a proper maintenance or an engineer who is in charge of all those equipment in Korle Bu, then definitely that person will have a routine maintenance of all those equipment. And you don't have to wait for over 2 weeks for the machines to break down before you report. So my research at the various hospitals in this country indicates that there's shortage of human resource in area of management of our equipment. I'm talking about hospital equipment.
But how can that be?
And because of that, and if you look at our institutions in this country, there are no specific institutions that have core academic areas, training people specifically in area of hospital equipment. And these are areas that I think that our science bias universities, institutions, and polytechnics should be looking at. Otherwise, we are building up a lot of hospitals in this country. Just recently, another 10 polyclinic came to Parliament. All over, all these hospitals need equipment, and this equipment, not just by just purchasing them, but we need to maintain them. We need to ensure that if the equipment is supposed to last for 20, 30 years, it lasts for that just duration. Otherwise, we'll go use our revenue to purchase this equipment or whatever it is. Even if it's a facility, we use it to purchase them. At the end of the day, they come to this country, we don't maintain them very well, and these are the results we get. So I'm saying that, yes, I am not very pleased with Korle Bu management for several years, not only this year. And today, as we are here, there are a lot of issues about management of Korle Bu and all that. So I don't know what the Ministry of Health need to look at and restructure the whole Korle Bu, because these things keeps on coming. $20,000. How can we lose life because of $20,000? And honestly, I say in this country that it is because
we don't have the requisite.
Yes, and how do we reward people by their performance? I always say it. The point is that if you're a doctor, the one in charge of that department, at the end of the day, will be paid his salary. At the end of the year, if he deserves a bonus, he'll be given the full bonus. So, if you are a doctor there, what is going to motivate you to do more so that you can get more? There's no reward system, proper reward system in this country, and that's why we are facing this problem.
Is it a case of failure on the part of government or Korle Bu for not building capacity, like my colleague is saying.
It's purely a failure of management of Korle Bu.
Management of Korle Bu
over time.
Government, Ministry of Health budget always have components for capacity building. So we cannot sit here 59 years after independence and come and say that, oh, we haven't built capacity to maintain equipment at Korle Bu. It's never true. We have the personnel there, they are not motivated, their capacity is not being built because resources are not being channeled to the right places to ensure that they get the requisite training. Because medicine has improved. Equipment 30 years ago has changed.
Even equipment for the next 5 years.
For the next 5 years. So we need to keep up with the time. So that if somebody was using obsolete equipment which are no longer useful elsewhere and is now sitting at Korle Bu, how does the person get the training? Government says, oh, I'm building hospitals, I'm building polyclinics. What about the human resource needed to manage these equipments? Recently, Parliament approved lots of loan agreements for re-equipping or retooling hospitals. The components to build and train people to manage these equipments were absent, and questions were raised that CT scan machines, these new gadgets that are installed in modern hospitals, do we have the men? Do we have the women? Are they being given the training? Are they being given the motivation to use it and manage these resources?
Because that is critical and for the overall sustenance.
Sure, because health delivery is not about putting up hospital. It's about the human resource to manage it and the motivation given by government to these people who are employed to maintain our health facilities and institutions, to enable them work and feel that they are also there to take care of lives.
Curiously, the problems that the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital has had vis-a-vis the wranglings or the ensuing impasse between management and staff, how can we also say speculatively that could have contributed to some of these things? Because if they are demotivated, if there are difficulties and they would want to sabotage, they definitely wouldn't be reporting problems to the general management.
Yes, before I just say that, just to say that, yes, if you look at the current, that's what my colleague is raising, we have to the current loan agreement that we approve in Parliament, there's a component which is for training. And mostly those international organizations who supply equipment, there's
they have some training aspect,
a training component attached to some of those things. So I take a specific notice of that particular agreement. There's a component which they are supposed to be train the personnel with regard to how to manage those equipment. But I'm talking about our academic institutions in this country. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you've made that point.
Yeah. But for Korle Bu specific, I have, you see, we cannot sit and say that because of motivation, we will not perform our duties. We cannot sit and say that because, my brother, when you apply to work in Korle Bu, the terms and conditions of Korle Bu was clearly given to you, and you clearly accept the terms that these are the conditions of service of Korle Bu before you accepted to work over there. So yes, over time you may need some changes, and that's how come I said that every organization, according to our labor law, need to have a collective bargaining agreement, or what you call the condition of service. And that is what I think that people should be looking at. But to give an excuse and say that because of a condition of service is not good, because I have not been motivated, so I am not going to work. I think these are relative terms. These are completely relative. For you not to be motivated, how do you measure motivation? How do you measure? Yeah. So I am saying that we should not hide behind words and say that because I am not motivated. Motivated by who? By what? Means by what standard are you looking at? What standard are you looking at? So we should not allow personnel of our institutions to hide behind these words and underperform or perform poorly. If you think that the condition of service at Korle Bu is not good for you, please There's honest thing you have to do so that we can look for people who graciously accept that conditions and work for the people of this country.
Okay,
I am not saying that people should not demand better conditions of service.
Consistently, we hear lift is not working. Pharmaceutical, perhaps department is having shortage of drugs. Maybe staff are not getting the necessary equipment in facilities, equipment breakdowns, etc. How is this an indictment on the overall management of the hospital?
Well, Roland, you say it's an indictment, but it's about time we engage private people to partner some of this.
Because private people will ensure positive outputs,
sure,
or will ensure you get the right results.
The thinking behind some of these institutions has got to change, because it's a huge business entity, Korle Bu, Komfo Anokye, Tamale Teaching Hospital, the regional hospitals. So if government feels that they are not in a position to better resource and ensure that standards are met, up-to-date equipment are installed, people are handled in a much more professional way, like you go to other public health institutions, then government has got to look at a good partnership.
But you're also aware that usually the staff internally are very much not amenable or resistant to change.
Oh no, you see, when they get proper management, their conditions of service improve. They are working under new management, under new and stringent terms and conditions, and they are being paid well. The whole attitude will change. It's like working in a private company. Because when you have a clocking system and you're supposed to come at 7, you don't give excuses.
Not at all.
So if we want to improve, then we have got to look at some of these institutions, and government has got to consider partnering serious private sector players in managing some of these state institutions to ensure that we keep up with the times, because health management is very, very key, and it's a serious and big business that government has got to look at.
And also, you go to South Africa and things. Some of the big hospitals, they make
millions of dollars.
Yes. Yeah, really. Yeah. Because you go there, service is exceptional, and you have to pay good bucks for it. But let's look at this. There's a story about police arresting 3 Pakistanis, or a number of Pakistanis, 7 Pakistani nationals and 6 Ghanaians at Asim Fosu over suspicion that they could be terrorists. Would want to look at that though, but for the second time this year, we're told that the Economic Intelligence Unit has predicted victory for the opposition Patriotic Party when Ghanaians go to the polls this November. The report says a stagnant economy is expected to feed into the whole NPP narrative that the governing party, that's the NDC, is not fit for re-election to form the next government again. There's little time for, apparently, the Mahama-led administration and the NDC as a party to turn the economy around before the electioneering, and also during the decision time reaches for Ghanaians to make up their mind whether to want to retain them or vote in the MPP. I guess that should be good news for Patrick, but not too good news for the NDC. And we have a member here who is a member of parliament. You should be quickening in your seats. You're not too happy.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
You are unwavered? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. I'm saying that because anytime at all we are going to elections, bodies come out with a lot of surveys indicating the result of their surveys. And that is not surprising. And anytime at all they come with these surveys, one, you have to look at the issues they raise as a political party, look at the dynamics they are talking about, and that will fuse into your strategy going into the campaign. And I believe strongly that in elections, even the one day count. So if somebody is prompting you and telling you that there are difficulties with regard to the way Ghanaian thinks, then your communication outfit, your strategic outfit should sit down and strategize, because election is not only about the road network, it's not only about the infrastructure, but it's about effective communication and the psychology of the people. So for me, it's just to let the NDC management know that there's something that they need to do, and that's it. So for me, we are in March, and as far as politics is concerned,
we are not in March, we are in April.
Okay, today is 1st April, yes, 1st April. We'll
just
look
a few months to the election. You should
it's not
agree.
few months. I'm saying that one day in election is critical. The single day of elections, and from now up to the 7th November, series of events, series of activities will take place, and that can change things. I'm not saying that the result, because we don't have the details of the sampling that they take and all that, we can question the database, but I'm not interested in that one. I'm saying that whatever survey, whatever anybody does in this country, as a party, you have to take it serious and look at it strategically.
And so your party, you've
forward.
Taken it serious?
Every survey in this country, as a political party, you need to take it serious and work at it. But basically, if it's about development, then Ghanaians, whoever, should not be thinking like that. So for me, it's about the psyche of the people and how to move and communicate effectively with our people. And surely NDC will carry the day.
The report also expects the result to be close and one that the outcome, though, is not a foregone conclusion. Good. And, well, he also outlined that despite the polls heavily weighing on the side of the NPP to win the elections, the NDC, according to what the report said, seem to have done well in providing infrastructure, etc., investment in physical infrastructure. And so that could also play a role in the decision-making process of the ordinary voter, but weigh heavily on your party. You should just relax and make sure you take it coolly, and victory will be yours.
Thank you very much. We have 6 months to campaign actively. 6 months, 5 days. Between now and November 7th, we have 6 months, 5 days. It's something I would urge my party, the rank and file, to consider seriously and also work hard to ensure victory. EIU has come out with a statement. Yes, they have taken certain information, or they've done their own survey and are saying this. We thank them. What I'm telling my party is that we should not be complacent when some of these things come out, because they tend to relax the rank and file. Now, EIU says we are going to win the elections. People will stop campaigning. People will stop the hard work that they are doing. Resources will not flow for people to go down and work to ensure that whatever any polling survey group or a pollster is saying comes to reality. So what I'm saying is that we should not be complacent with the outcome of any poll, because the sample size may be smaller than the larger electorate that we are going to be convincing. We have not less than 14 million people on the register, even though we have issues with the register. That notwithstanding, it should motivate us to work hard and harder to ensure that the results that we require come November 7th is achieved. The report talks about NDC investing in infrastructure and what have you, but how has that translated into the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian? How has that translated into the affairs of the businessman or the investor community? How has that affected people's perception of corruption, people's perception of our governance style, people's perception about how we do things in this country? And I believe we should look at the survey as one of the normal surveys that come out, but be encouraged to work till we get the results come November 7th. A good survey, in my view, is the one that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Charlotte Osei, would announce either on November 7th, 8th, or 9th after the election. That is the survey that we want. And I believe that is the survey that every MPP member wants to hear come that day. So I'll encourage our members to continue working hard with their house-to-house campaigns to encourage the flag bearer, the national executive, members of parliament. Everybody in the party has a role to play in the campaign. And we have 6 months, 5 days to execute that campaign. And time is not on our side.
How critically is the time left important to the decision-making process of the decision-making of the ordinary voter? Vis-a-vis, if you look at where your strongholds are, which ones are not your strongholds, and how perhaps the messages need to be couched to fit certain audience.
You see, every sector or every voter wants to hear something. A story or a message must resonate with every voter. The business community want VAT to be scrapped. They want a 3% flat rate. They are paying 17.5%. Import duties, import taxes have gone up. So our policy and our message to the business community must be different from what we'll be telling Labour, because the Labour front has been on strike. JUSAC is on strike. Medical Association students have been on strike. What is the reassuring message from the New Patriotic Party to these groups that will encourage them to vote for us come November 7th? So our messages must be tailored to favor or to suit every grouping. For example, our leader went to Drobonso and made a very fantastic policy statement for on the Fulani menace. Very fantastic statement that Argentina has Brazil has a population of about 200 million, with cattle size of about 213 million. And his view is that when elected, cattle ranches has to be built in most places where we have this Fulani issue to enable us cage them, feed them, and build processing factories around those communities so that it creates jobs and also secure the ordinary farmer and also bring about peace between the Fulani and the people within the Afram Plains belt. So those are issues that people within the Afram belt, from Kwewu, Agogo, Nsuta Kwamai, Atebu, Prime, Yeji, if you cross the Volta to Makango, Salaga area, that is what they want to hear from a leader who wants to win an election and to tackle a particular problem that affects the people in those areas. So I believe, yes, we are ready, we are working hard, and I think we ought to hit the street and send our message across to the people of Ghana that, yes, we may have issues, but given the opportunity, we are the best group to better manage this country.
Yeah, best group to manage this.
So
country.
far,
I just want to make some few reference to some.
Please do. You've gone through what we gave you, based on the summary of what.
Some of the things that I think that we need to look at the report holistically, because if you look at the challenges they were talking about, is the economic performance of the country.
But really, on the mind of the ordinary.
But if you look at,
it's the state of the economy.
No, after the fraud of 2016 election period, the threat of instability would recede during the 2017 to 2019 as a better economic performance helped to ease frustration.
And the critics are that you won't be there to reap that.
No, the point I'm making is that it tells you that how do you get into that if better measures are not put in place now? Because if I'm talking about immediately after the elections, there will be good economic indicators, or there will be better performance of the economy. It means that the report, those who wrote the report, accept in principle that there are critical measures
that you are undertaking now.
Undertaking to ensure that.
For which the outcome would be positive after 2017.
No, not even after 2017.
But you do agree. But you do agree. The decision to retain you or not in power is based on what the practicalities of the exigencies of the times are, what they are feeling, what they are experiencing,
very well,
not
very
what
well.
they hope to achieve or experience in 2017.
But in life, hope is also critical. Hope is critical.
But you don't create hope in a vacuum.
I am saying that hope is critical because there are visible signs with regard to infrastructure. There are visible signs with regard to the way we are managing things in this country. So people in various communities, in various rural communities, they are seeing signs of development. People are seeing development at their doorsteps. And clearly the report indicates that if you talk about infrastructure in this country, Mahama administration is performing extremely well. That's clear. There's no two ways about that one. But I want to say that if we look at the first page, they even talk about, they give conditions. And they say that it's not even a foregone conclusion because of specific things they mention, which is very, very difficult for them to achieve. Very, very difficult for them to achieve because you're talking about key thing is unity. And can this...
But you don't determine whether the MPP is united or not.
I am saying that I'm talking about, I'm speaking
what's
to the
your
report.
position as a political party on the subject of polls? Because we know that prior to the election, there will be many of such polls.
No, we
EIU will be one of the many of the polls that will come out with predictions.
We as a political party look at every survey and look at what the survey is coming out with and go and strategize with the result of the survey.
Dimoji,
so
do you talk about unity when at the offices of your party in Atebubu set on fire, DCE's car confiscated, and what have you? Is that unity?
Please. What we are talking about,
unity?
You see, we are talking about, you see, when you go into those levels, we can go into it and say that when we are talking about organization or organogram, we are talking about the latter stage of management. We're talking about head.
You're talking about the various segments of the political party structure.
And strategize
the organizational structure.
Organizations. And
you are saying that there's no unity.
If you go and say that,
and you are saying that there's no unity at the top of for the MP.
That is the point I'm making.
But for you,
it's not me who is saying it.
But for you at the local level, there's this unity.
From where?
At the top.
No, we're talking about
one
structure. Out of 275 constituencies. And if you want to go into constituency conflict in this country, and we put MPP as a political party down and NDC today, there's no way they can compare themselves to us. So this is not even a constituency conflict. It's a question of government against the DCE. So it's not a constituency conflict. Constituency executives are not at war in Atebubu. It is a municipal chief executives against some group of people. So clearly, it is not an issue. If we put MPP as a political party down, and you want us to move from the top and to down with regard to conflict and the way they are managing things, the people of this country are there to judge us. I'm not going to go into whether really MPP.
Please, I'll give you a minute. Just wrap up. Just wrap up for me on the subject of.
Roland, I mentioned it because the report mentioned it.
The NDC seems to be taking the EIU survey report seriously as they can. But once many of them would be coming in, and if your flag bearer will be seen to be the leader in many of the polls, then it means that you're in good stead to say that practically you can't just sweep the various constituencies and be the ultimate come 2017.
You see, political parties are not social clubs. They are formed to win elections. That is why we are
basic objective.
Yes, and ensure that the vision that we have affects lives in this country positively. So we are saying that yes, EIU has come out with a report, and that we have seen the report, and that we are going to work extra hard and ensure that the actual survey on November 7 is reflective of what the Ghanaians feel, and they'll vote for us come November.
Patrick Yaw-Boamah is a member of Parliament for Okaigwe Central, and thanks for joining me this morning, Patrick. And also Bright Demoji, member of Parliament for Botiano English and Manfro. We're having next entertainment, and Gladys already is ready with a lot more. Just stay on.